Hello. I am not getting a lot of riding in this weekend, so I figured I'd share with you guys my toolbox. So recently I just moved all my bike tools into this one box. This toolbox was actually my grandpa's. He used to be a mechanic for like cars, automotives, and when he retired, he gave me this toolbox. It actually has his name on the top. So with that being said, I'm gonna explain to you guys why all my tools are in here and basically how I set this toolbox up. So before this toolbox, I used to have all my tools hung up on my workbench, and that was working fine. I had no issues with that, but the biggest thing I didn't like about having my tools hung up was that I couldn't transport them very well. So I just needed something different. I needed something that was gonna keep me organized, but at the same time allow me to transport the tools, and this was the perfect solution. I'm so glad I was able to repurpose this toolbox and basically build it up to where it suits my needs and it makes sense for me. So this is a Craftsman Tool Box. It used to have the logo right here, but I removed it. And it has a top lid and it has 8 drawers. It's all made out of metal. I'll give you guys a 360 so you can check it out. I have a few magnets on the side with some paper towels to clean up any mess that I make. No magnets in the back. This side's empty as well. And we're back to the front. Another cool thing that I like about it is that it comes with a lock. You turn the key and the lid is locked and the drawers are locked too. And the other cool thing that I got for this toolbox was the rollers that it's on. This toolbox isn't too heavy. It's like 40 pounds right now. The reason I bought this was because it allows me to move the toolbox around whenever I'm working on my bike or someone else's bike. So it just allows me to relocate the toolbox wherever I want it to be. I think I picked up this dolly for like 10 bucks at Harbor Freight. I'll put a link in the description where you guys can get it. Another thing that I did to customize this toolbox was put foam inserts in each drawer and on the top. And with those foam inserts, I traced out each tool and where I wanted to place, and I got a soldering iron and just used it as a pencil to trace out each and every tool. So I have the foam all over. I have it in each and every single drawer with every tool cut out. I also got these foam inserts from Harbor Freight. I think I got 4 square sheets of foam for like around $10 as well. And I'll put that in the description so you guys can check it out. So now that you have a backstory of this toolbox and this setup, I'll begin to dive into each drawer and give you a rundown of all the tools that I have and just give you some information on my tool setup. As I mentioned earlier, the only things that I have on the side of this box are paper towels held with bungee cords, some magnets, some electrical tape, my grandpa's name. As we open the top drawer, I don't have many tools in this area, but what I do use this section for is whenever I grab tools from the drawer, I usually set them up here, and while I'm working on a bike, I'll come back and forth and grab the tool, and that's why it's pretty much empty. We are going to start with this drawer and then work our way down. First tool up is some Masterlink pliers, a Park Tool chain breaker. Bought this new spoke wrench. I haven't used it yet, but it feels pretty sturdy. A Pedro's tire lever and a chain wear indicator. That is it for drawer 1. Drawer 2, we have a cassette lock ring removal tool, a cartridge bottom bracket tool. I have 3 spoke wrenches, and this was actually my first spoke wrench, but then I misplaced it for a really long time, and then I went ahead and bought this one, and eventually I got tired of using this one, so then I pulled the trigger for a Park Tool spoke wrench, and this is what I mainly use for my mountain bike. Last tool up is a rotor disc truing tool. Drawer number 3, we have a crank arm puller, an adjusting cap tool from Park Tool, and then we got some bits, a lighter for burning off the tips of like zip ties or any type of plastic, a Blue Point ratchet with a 10mm socket at the end. We got an adjustable pin spanner wrench and a C-spanner wrench. I rarely use these 2 tools on my mountain bike. I've used them on other bikes. When it comes to servicing my mountain bike, I usually stay away from these, but they're good to have. First big drawer, we got some heavy duty scissors, a dust seal installation tool, a Park Tool bottom bracket bearing removal tool. As you can see, bottom bracket bearing removal tool. And these two pieces allow me to reinstall the bearings that I've removed with this tool. So this whole 3-piece thing came together from Park Tool when I made the purchase. A cassette chain whip. This thing has been with me for a long time and I've never had issues with it. An open-ended wrench, size 10 and 8. A flathead screwdriver. A Phillips head screwdriver. A pick to like remove any seals or O-rings. Convertible snap ring pliers from Irwin. And they have a bunch of bits right here that I can interchange with the head. Some pliers. I've had these things since I was like 16 and they're still putting in work, so I haven't found a reason to replace them. A smaller flathead screwdriver, an adjustable wrench, and then a size 15 open-ended wrench. I mainly use this as a pedal wrench. So that wraps up this drawer. Next one we got up, I have a set of T-handle ball end hex keys. I have from sizes 10mm all the way down to 1.5mm. I use these set of hex keys very often. Like these are my go-to whenever I'm working on any type of bike really. I have a little mirror to check hard to reach places that I can't see on my mountain bike. I have a 10mm hex key. This is actually a bike light that I use as a work light, and it's extremely bright, so I've kind of repurposed it. And the really cool part is that it's rechargeable. A tape measure, some plier cutters, needle nose pliers, a hammer. I took off the handle and I just wrapped it with like rubber tape because the handle it came with was super bulky and big and it just took up too much space. Last thing in this box are some Husky hex keys. These are standard size and these are metric size. I rarely have to use these, but they're good to have. All right, next one up. I have a snap-on flathead screwdriver. I mainly use this guy for like prying out stuff since it's so big and I can get some good leverage on it. Got an open-ended wrench, size 36 and 40 and 30-32 on this end. I have a bushing removal tool. And this is mainly for my rear shock on my mountain bike. Whenever I'm doing service on it, I usually use this tool to remove the bushings. 2 sets of syringes made by SRAM to bleed my brakes. I have like a star L key to remove a bolt on my SRAM brake levers. Another open-ended wrench, size 8 and 7. All of these pieces right here are my bleed blocks for my calipers. I have a bunch of hoses for my syringes. And then last thing is a shock pump. I use this thing pretty often. Almost before every ride, I like to check my air pressure on my front and rear shocks. So this tool gets used very often. And that pretty much wraps up all my tools. I have this empty spot with the foam insert just in case in the future I decide to buy more tools. I can store them in here and cut them out and place them. And then this last drawer, I just have a mallet, a filer, and some markers. Again, I have the foam mat, but I haven't inserted any tools because I don't feel like I have enough yet to really determine where I want each tool to go. So I just kind of set this stuff in there. As I start to build up this toolbox, I could use these last 2 drawers to fit more tools. One thing I do want to mention is that for some tools, it can be a little difficult to remove from the foam. I guess you could say this is like a KAIZEN foam alternative. It's not the best, but in my opinion, it works great. Like this tool can be a little difficult to get out, but you just need to finagle it out. But that is one thing I want you guys to know in case you're considering of doing this type of conversion, is that some tools can be a little difficult to remove. And that about wraps up my toolbox. I am so in love with this setup. It's been a game changer for me. I just feel like everything I would ever need to work on my mountain bike or any bike in general is in this box. So I think this toolbox is gonna be with me for a very long time. I don't see myself ever getting rid of it. Like, it's just a perfect setup for me. The fact that it's mobile, the fact that it's got so many drawers, it helps me stay organized. And the foam mat inserts is honestly a game changer for me because of the fact that if I ever misplace a tool, I'll know because it won't be in its insert. I think personally, it just helps me. I love staying organized and it just makes working on my bike a lot easier. One thing I will admit is that tracing your tools and cutting them out with the solder iron does take a lot of time. Like, you have to be prepared to spend a few hours if you're gonna do this, But in my opinion, it's well worth it. If you guys have any questions or you want to know more about this setup, feel free to drop a comment down below. That is going to wrap up this video, but I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.